What happens when a simple dinner invitation turns into the most shocking encounter of your life? That's exactly the question that tore through my mind the moment I received the call. The voice on the other end was familiar but hushed, almost trembling with urgency. "The restaurant called. You need to see the footage. Come alone. Don't tell your wife." I froze, heart hammering, the weight of every word pressing down like a physical force. I could almost hear my pulse in my ears. What footage? Why me? And why alone? My mind raced with possibilities, each darker than the last. Before we dive deeper, if you want to witness every shocking twist and jaw-dropping reveal, hit that subscribe button on Roots of Revenge, smash the like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments. You won't want to miss a second of this. I arrived at the restaurant long after sunset. The neon sign flickered against the night sky, casting long, uncertain shadows across the empty sidewalk. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of aged wood and lingering perfume. At a corner table, a figure waited, face obscured by shadows, yet unmistakably familiar. The moment I stepped closer, recognition hit me like a lightning bolt. There they were, the celebrity whose every move had dominated headlines for months, and now, here they were, staring at me as if I held the missing piece of a puzzle that no one else had yet solved. Their eyes glinted with something unreadable: fear, anger, desperation, maybe all three. "I wasn't sure you'd come," they said softly, voice trembling just enough to betray the calm facade. Not many do when it gets complicated. I pulled out the chair opposite them, every instinct screaming caution, yet curiosity burned hotter than any fear. "Complicated how?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The pause that followed stretched too long, every tick of the clock echoing in the silent room like a warning. And then, with a swift motion, they slid a tablet across the table toward me. The screen flickered to life, and the footage began to play. At first, it was just ordinary clips, dimly lit corridors, laughter echoing from another room, the mundane rhythm of life. But then, something shifted. The camera angle changed, capturing moments that no one was supposed to see. A confrontation, whispered words that carried venom and secrets, a glimpse of betrayal that could topple careers and shatter lives. My stomach churned. The room seemed to shrink around me, every detail amplified. The slight tremor in their hands, the distant hum of the refrigerator, the faint scratch of my pen against the table. The footage wasn't just evidence. It was an invitation into a world of deception I wasn't prepared to enter. "Do you see it now?" they asked, voice barely above a whisper, but it sliced through the tension like a blade. I nodded, unable to speak, my mind racing to connect the dots. The betrayal wasn't subtle, it was raw, unfiltered, a crescendo of years of hidden resentment and carefully curated lies. I could feel the room holding its breath, as if the very walls were complicit in what was about to unravel. Outside, the city's hum seemed to fade, leaving just the two of us and the unrelenting truth. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Why me? The question sounded almost foolish against the enormity of what I'd just witnessed. Their eyes flickered, shadowed with emotion, and for the first time I glimpsed vulnerability beneath the celebrity armor. "Because if anyone understands, it's you," they murmured. And in that moment I realized this wasn't just about footage. It was about confession, about reckoning, about exposing the roots of a revenge that had been simmering silently, waiting for the right moment. The tension between us grew unbearable. Every glance, every breath, felt loaded with unspoken history. I wanted to speak, to ask questions, but the words lodged in my throat as the tablet continued to play, revealing a confrontation so explosive it felt like the air itself would ignite. And then it happened. A sudden shift in the footage, a figure appearing unexpectedly, their voice cutting through the room like a siren. I looked up, heart in my throat. The celebrity leaned forward, their eyes locking with mine, pleading for trust. "You have to see the full story," they urged, "because once this goes public, nothing will ever be the same." I swallowed hard, feeling the gravity of the moment press down on my chest. This was no ordinary interview, no scripted conversation for ratings. This was raw, real, and perilously close to the kind of scandal that could redefine everything. Every instinct in me screamed caution, yet an undeniable pull, an obligation to uncover the truth, kept me rooted to the chair. Outside, the neon sign flickered again, like a heartbeat marking time, each pulse intensifying the suspense. By the end of the first hour, the room was thick with tension, silence punctuated only by the occasional gasp or "she." The night stretched on, but the restaurant felt suspended in its own dimension, a place outside time where secrets lingered in every shadow. The celebrity leaned closer across the table, eyes dark and haunted, voice barely audible over the soft hum of the air conditioner. "You don't know the half of it," they said, and I could see the weight of years pressing down on them, etched into the lines of their face. I swallowed, my mind still reeling from the footage, the betrayal, the confrontation I had just witnessed. "Then, tell me," I whispered, as if speaking too loudly would shatter the fragile trust we were building in the dimly lit room. Their gaze flickered, uncertain, before settling again on mine. "It started years ago," they began, each word deliberate, heavy with memory. "People think the public sees everything, but they don't. The alliances, the lies, the manipulations behind closed doors. It's a different world entirely." My fingers tightened around my cup, knuckles whitening, as if holding something physical could anchor me to reality. "And you're saying this footage, it exposes that world?" I asked, voice trembling slightly despite my attempt at control. They nodded, eyes narrowing with a flicker of fear, as if admitting it made it dangerously real. The tablet hummed quietly between us, the glow illuminating the tension etched on their face. I could feel the air thickening, as if the room itself were holding its breath in anticipation. "There's more," they continued, voice low, almost a whisper. "The person behind this, they've been planning it for years. Every move calculated, every alliance formed and broken, all leading to this moment. And you just walked into the epicenter." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Why me?" I asked again, though now it wasn't curiosity. Fear had replaced it. "Because you don't just see the story. You understand it," they said, and the intensity in their eyes made my chest tighten. "And if this goes public, you'll need to be ready for everything that comes next." I leaned back in my chair, heart hammering. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a war waged in the shadows, and I was suddenly in the crosshairs. My thoughts spun wildly. Media scrutiny, public backlash, legal consequences. But beneath it all, an undeniable sense of purpose surged. I was witnessing something that would change the landscape of celebrity culture forever, and somehow, I had been chosen to uncover it. Then, abruptly, their phone buzzed, piercing the tension like a warning. They glanced at it, eyes narrowing, lips pressing into a thin line. "It's them," they muttered, almost to themselves. "They know we're here." My pulse spiked. "Who?" I asked, but their gaze was already scanning the shadows of the restaurant. The muted chatter of distant tables, the clinking of silverware, everything felt magnified, as if the space had shrunk to contain only us and the invisible threat that hovered nearby. "The person behind all of this," they whispered. "They've been watching, waiting, and now they're coming closer." A tense silence fell over the table, broken only by the distant hiss of the espresso machine. The air seemed charged, every sound amplified. The subtle creak of a chair, the scrape of a pen against a receipt, the faint shuffle of a waiter's shoes. And then, from the corner of the room, a shadow moved, subtle yet deliberate, like a predator testing its prey. My stomach twisted. I could feel every muscle in my body tighten, the adrenaline surging through me. The celebrity's hand brushed mine briefly, a fleeting, desperate connection, and I understood without words. We were no longer observers. We were participants. "I can't let them see us like this," they said, voice strained. "We need to move. Now." I nodded, swallowing hard, barely able to control the rapid rhythm of my heart. We rose from the table, keeping our movements deliberate but cautious, as if each step carried the weight of consequence. The shadows seemed to stretch and twist around us, every corner of the restaurant a potential hiding place for eyes that were always watching. As we slipped toward the exit, I could feel the tension coiling tighter, a spring ready to snap. Outside, the night air hit me like a shock wave, sharp and cold, grounding me in a reality that felt surreal just moments ago. The city hummed around us, indifferent to the storm brewing in our private world. The celebrity glanced around nervously, eyes scanning the streetlights and parked cars. "We need a safe place," they said, voice low but urgent. "Somewhere we can talk without being watched, somewhere we can plan our next move." I nodded again, understanding immediately. The footage, the secrets, the betrayals, they were just the beginning. As we walked, their story unfolded further, each revelation more shocking than the last. Names were dropped, connections revealed, betrayals exposed, details that would make headlines for weeks. The tension outside the apartment door had become almost unbearable. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant siren, every echo of the city streets felt like a countdown. The celebrity leaned against the wall, eyes dark with exhaustion, but their hands trembled slightly. A subtle crack in the armor of fame that no one outside would ever see. I could feel my own heart racing, adrenaline mixing with fear, curiosity, and a strange sense of obligation. "They're coming," they said, voice low, almost a growl. "They've always been coming, waiting for the right moment to strike." My stomach twisted. I knew this wasn't just about footage anymore. It was about survival, about exposure, about revenge that had been meticulously cultivated for years. The tablet lay between us, its glow illuminating faces tense with secrets and unspoken fears. I stared at the footage again, this time seeing the layers beneath the surface. Whispers of betrayal, alliances forming in shadows, and subtle gestures that revealed motives no one had guessed. And then, the moment we had been dreading, the confrontation we both sensed but hadn't dared to name, began to unfold. The footage captured it perfectly. An explosive argument, voices raised, eyes flashing with fury and desperation. I could hear the emotion through the speakers, the raw, unfiltered tension that no script or public appearance could ever hide. "I trusted them," the celebrity muttered, almost to themselves. "I shouldn't have." The weight of regret in their voice made the hairs on my arms stand on end. My mind raced. Who was the real enemy? The person on the footage, or the invisible network of betrayal that had orchestrated this entire sequence of events? And somewhere beneath it all, I knew that the answer was both terrifying and personal. Then, the knock came, sharp, deliberate, echoing through the hallway like a gunshot. Both of us froze. The celebrity's eyes darted to me, pleading, "Stay calm. Don't react. Let me handle this." My pulse pounded so hard I thought it might give us away. The knocking continued, a steady, menacing rhythm, as if the person outside knew exactly how to provoke fear without revealing themselves. I could feel the air thickening, the room shrinking, our fates intertwined in ways that made me dizzy. The celebrity opened the door slightly, just enough to peer out. The figure waiting was perfectly composed, their posture casual, but there was a dangerous intensity in their gaze that made the blood drain from my face. It was the architect of the revenge, the one who had orchestrated everything, every lie, every hidden agenda, every betrayal we had uncovered. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then, words were exchanged, soft and loaded with menace, each syllable striking like a dagger. "You shouldn't have come here," the visitor said. Their voice was smooth, calm, but underneath it, a tremor of controlled rage lurked. "You're meddling in things far beyond your understanding." The celebrity's jaw tightened. "We're done hiding. The truth comes out now, whether you like it or not." The tension escalated in an almost tangible wave, each word a spark in a room ready to ignite. I stood frozen, trapped between two forces whose history was written in secrets and lies, yet felt like we were all teetering on the edge of a cliff. The conversation grew more heated, accusations flying, voices rising. The visitor leaned closer, eyes glinting with a dangerous, calculating light. "You think the world won't notice? That the public won't destroy you? You're deluded." And yet, the celebrity did not falter. They leaned forward, voice steady despite the quiver of fear beneath the surface. "The world will see the truth, no matter what you do, and they'll have to answer for what they've done." Every syllable landed with weight, every pause filled with electricity. It was a confrontation years in the making, a collision of secrets that could no longer be contained. I could barely breathe, the tension wrapping around me like a vice. My hand brushed against the tablet, the evidence of every lie and manipulation between them, and suddenly the stakes became painfully, terrifyingly real. This wasn't a story to report or a scandal to expose. It was a moment where lives could be shattered, reputations destroyed, alliances ended, and perhaps even more personal consequences would emerge. My presence, once accidental, had now become part of the drama, part of the reckoning itself. Then, in an unexpected move, the celebrity produced another piece of evidence, sliding a folder across the table with deliberate precision. The visitor's eyes flickered, a hint of panic, a crack in the mask of control. You think this changes anything?" they demanded. But the evidence was damning. Details, names, connections, betrayals. It all fit together like a puzzle, and for the first time, I felt the tide turn. The visitor faltered, hesitation creeping into their voice, the first tangible sign that maybe the morning light seeped through the blinds, casting jagged stripes across the room, and the quiet aftermath was deafening. The confrontation was over, but its echoes lingered in every corner of the apartment. I sat across from the celebrity, both of us exhausted, raw and unsteady, still digesting the intensity of the night. The footage, the revelations, the confessions, they had changed everything. And as I stared at the screen, paused on the final confrontation, I realized the magnitude of what had just unfolded. Lives exposed, reputations fractured, alliances destroyed, and a world about to react in ways none of us could have predicted. Outside, the city stirred unaware, but inside, time seemed suspended. The celebrity's hands were trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of truth finally laid bare. "They'll come for me," they whispered, voice almost breaking. "They'll come for all of us." I nodded, understanding the reality. This wasn't just a private reckoning. It was a storm that would soon consume social media, tabloids, and every headline in between. The roots of revenge had been planted long ago, and now they were visible, sprawling, and unstoppable. By mid-morning, notifications started pouring in, alerts, messages, mentions, and tags. Everyone who had been part of the shadows now emerged, each seeking clarity, confrontation, or justification. The footage had leaked, or perhaps it hadn't yet, but the threat alone was enough to ignite speculation. I could feel my phone vibrating constantly, each ping a pulse of the world's interest. The celebrity sank deeper into the couch, head in hands, eyes hollow yet defiant. "They'll spin it," they muttered. "Twist it. But the truth is in the footage. It has to be." We spent hours strategizing, piecing together what could be revealed, what had to stay private, and how to survive the fallout. Every decision was tense, every word measured, every pause loaded with consequence. Outside the apartment, the city moved with its usual indifference, but inside, the tension was suffocating, a storm of emotion, fear, and anticipation that refused to let us breathe. And through it all, I realized something critical. This story wasn't just about the celebrity, the betrayal, or the revenge. It was about humanity, about the dangerous power of secrets, and the inevitability of truth demanding its day in the light. By late afternoon, the first wave of social media chatter exploded. Screenshots, clips, speculation, accusations, an unstoppable tide of information and misinformation colliding in real time. Fans, detractors, journalists, and bystanders all had opinions, all had reactions, all had judgments ready to be cast. The celebrity stared at the scrolling feeds, eyes wide, lips pressed tight. "I've survived scandals before," they whispered, voice tight with tension. "But this is different. This feels irreversible." And I realized then that the power of the footage, the confrontation, the revelations, it was more than personal. It was cultural, viral, unstoppable. The public reaction was immediate and intense. Comment threads spiraled, each opinion more extreme than the last. Supporters defended fiercely, calling for justice, fairness, and accountability. Critics dissected every word, every movement, every past decision, as if the confrontation of the night before had unlocked a Pandora's box of judgment. The celebrity's social media notifications exploded, a mix of empathy, outrage, and fascination, a reminder that the world was watching, analyzing, waiting. And in that chaos, I realized my role had shifted. I was no longer just an observer. I was a participant, a witness, and in some ways, a guardian of the story's truth. Even journalists arrived, questioning neighbors, scouring details, following leads. Every interaction felt like a test, every camera lens a potential threat. I could see the exhaustion and anxiety in the celebrity's eyes, but also a flicker of defiance, a determination that this story would not be rewritten or diluted. "Let them come," they said finally, voice stronger, sharper, resolved. "The truth will survive. The lies won't." Their words hung in the room, heavy with meaning, and I understood that despite the chaos, despite the threat, despite the fallout, there was something unbreakable in their resolve. As the hours stretched into evening, we stepped outside together, the city buzzing around us, oblivious to the earthquake we had set off. Every passerby, every honking horn, every flashing billboard felt like part of the storm. I could sense the world's gaze everywhere, eyes and ears hungry for detail, for scandal, for drama. And yet, amidst the chaos, there was also something profoundly human. Fascination with truth, the allure of confrontation, the irresistible pull of secrets revealed. The celebrity walked with measured steps, exhausted yet unbowed, aware that the roots of revenge had spread far and wide, but also that they could endure.